The arrest of church leader Shepard Bushiri and his wife Mary has sparked a conversation around the dynamics of the relations between church leaders and their followers again. Bushiri supporters have gathered outside court for all the appearances, insisting the couple is innocent. Some have condemned and criticized the behavior of the congregants, but similar shows of support have been seen outside religious institutions where we've been hearing cases involving people, for example, who are in politics and business. Let's discuss then the complex relationship between religious leaders and worshippers. We're joined now by Dr. George Nche. He's a Post-Doctoral Research Fellow at the University of Johannesburg's Department of Religious Studies. Doctor, a very good evening to you. Thank you so much for speaking to us. So, the unquestioning, if you will, loyalty of the supporters of the Bushiri couple has raised questions about how congregants relate to the leadership in the church. How do we make sense of what we've seen this week?
Yeah, thank you so much. I think what you see is a typical example of an example that shows how religious, or the level of religiosity in Africa. You know, Mbiti said it that Africans are notoriously religious, and that means that Africans, place a lot of value on religion. And as such, religion influences and determines their perception and attitudes to political issues. Yeah, and there's another, what I call theoretical framework that would help us understand the relationship or the reaction of the congregation towards, the case involving Bushiri. Sorry. So, and another theoretical framework is what goes this way, that religion serves as a source of social belonging and support. And there are a lot of studies that have confirmed that, people who attend churches quite often are more likely to get social and emotional support from fellow church members. Then, looking at these theoretical frameworks, now the first one being that Africans are notoriously religious, you will see a situation where, oh, please, can you?
Dr. Nche, are you still able to hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. So as I was saying, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Please continue, Doctor. In fact, I want to ask you something else, just on what you were saying. I want to ask you then about the line between a group of people, a congregation, supporting a leader who's beloved to them, whom they trust, whom they've followed for years, and when does that go from just pure support to something possibly a little more sinister, if you will?
Yeah, I think it's normal. It's normal to have people who belong to, one group, to support their members, especially when they are facing some troubles. Because relationships are tested during, a period of challenges and all that. So also considering that studies have shown that members who are quite active in religious activities are often likely to get support from their fellow members. It won't be surprising that Bushiri is getting that amount of support and prayers from his congregation. So, and looking at it from another perspective, I think Africans are naturally religious, and that makes them try to handle anything that has to do with religion with a lot of caution, especially when it involves a leader. And leaders are often enjoy some respect that can be equated with the respect people extend to or associate with God or the sacred objects. So I think it's a normal fitness as long as Africa is concerned.
Dr. Nche, a lot of people observing from the outside have questioned why, for example, the supporters of the Bushiris view this as a spiritual test rather than a legitimate legal process. How would you explain it to those of us who are watching from outside the religious space?
Yeah, as I said earlier, Africans, and especially in this context, South Africans, where about 80% are Christians, are quite religious. And that means that anything that has to do with their religion, their faith, they always try to handle it with a lot of care. And that's because of the kind of reverence they have for God. And this reverence is often extended to religious leaders. So in this case, Bushiri represents, God, to this congregation. So, and that would definitely make them to try to be careful as to what they say or believe. And also considering that religious leaders generally, with a lot of, influence in Africa, I think we should expect, more support from these congregations.
Final question then, Dr. Nche. You speak of reverence for individual religious leaders, and that's another thing that's been flagged, especially among the mega churches and religious communities that, for example, look to an individual leader. It's not a new thing. Is it necessarily problematic?
Yeah, sorry, I didn't hear you. Please come again.
I was picking up on the point you were making about reverence for individual religious or spiritual leaders. It's not a new thing when you track the history of religion across the world. Is it an inherently problematic thing? Yeah,
I don't think it is, because it's, as you said, rightly said, it's common, even from history. And it may interest you to also know that it's not peculiar to religious communities. Leaders generally, even in political settings, often have a court around them. A court fellowship around them. So they tend to get this support, sometimes irrespective of, how bad or how the level of, how do I put it, how bad this person has been proven to be, provided the person has this large has a court followership. These followers tend to follow almost blindly. So in this case, I think we should expect more from these members of ECG, church.
All right. Dr. George Nche, Post-Doctoral Research Fellow at the University of Johannesburg's Department of Religion Studies. Thank you so much for your time tonight.